Hi guys, Sidewinder back here for Community Starcraft 2, and today's video is going to be a Terran versus Zerg, very overly standard opener right now. This is going to be the Reactor Hellion opener, which is really kind of the best way to play against Zerg right now. I mean, it's hard to argue anything else as far as what's really good in this matchup. This build is going to be essentially just to get you your command center. Beyond that, it's totally up to you as to what you want to do. But we're going to explain how this build works, why so many people use it, and the different little intricacies that you can pick up on when you run it yourself. So the build is going to be Supply Depot on 10, which, I mean, this is so standard stuff. By the way, this is Braddock against Dimaga in a game that I casted. This was a cool series, though. If, you guys should watch this if you have not already seen it. But yeah, this is Game 3 of their matchup from BlizzCon 2011. And we're going to watch Braddock run the Reactor Hellion expand. After your Supply Depot is done, you're going to drop your barracks on usually 12. Braddock does it on 11 here, but this is totally up to you. And he had to cut an SCV to do that. So most of the time you're going to do it on 12. Braddock did it on 11, so it's a little strange. But your gas is going to follow that up. It's usually on 13, and again, Braddock does it on 12 because he cut an SCV. It may have even been a mistake, but I don't know. Yeah, anyway, so most of the time you're going to go 12 barracks, 13 gas, and then you're going to start another Supply Depot at around 16 or so. The idea is to line all this up so that you get a factory started as soon as possible off of one gas, and then you drop a reactor here on your barracks. So we're going to watch all the rest of this that's going on. Oh, and I forgot the crucial step here. Once your barracks is done, start a Marine and start your orbital command as soon as possible. Most of the time this is going to happen on 15. Sometimes it'll happen on 16 depending on how tight you're running everything. Just basically get your orbital command as soon as your barracks is done and get at least one Marine out to deny any drone scouting. So what's going to happen here, you're kind of on a timer right now as to when your gas is going to reach 100. As soon as it does, you want to drop your factory right next to your barracks. So we're going to wait for Braddock to go ahead and pull that. He's floating just a little bit extra gas right now. He could have had his factory started a little bit earlier. He is going to run over here and start it now. So here's the factory starting. You want to start a reactor on this barracks, and you can get a second Marine if you really want to. Braddock's just doing this to leave the option of a bunker rush open, but you can just go one Marine into factory, but if you can squeeze out a second Marine, that's also fine. Braddock's Supply Depot is also well behind, and you can even wait this long if you really want to. You just don't want to get stopped on your SCV production. So I actually think he's kind of making a little bit of a mistake here, but that's okay. So the factory's coming down here, the reactor's going down on the barracks, and the reason why is because you want to swap these two buildings out. And it's going to be pretty obvious if a Zerg scouts you as far as what you're doing. But this is not a build that's supposed to be like sneaky or anything like that. This is just a build that's going to offer map control at a time where you want to land a command center without being all in response. So yeah, we're going to just go ahead and watch the production tab here as is normal. So Braddock did get another Supply Depot done. So here he goes. He's just going to go ahead and swap these out. He's going to land his barracks over here, somewhere out of the way. It doesn't really matter. And he's just going to go ahead and start 2 Hellions. Once you've started your 2 Hellions, you're normally going to have a Supply Depot up right here, but you want to build your third one before you start your command center so you don't get supply blocked. And then after you start your 2 Hellions, start your command center. This should line up okay so that you can start 2 more Hellions as soon as that command center is done. Or excuse me, as soon as this first round of Hellions and then this command center is also on the way. So your first 2 Hellions are going to be to establish map control. And you're also going to make 2 more behind this, like you can see on the factory. So these 2 Hellions are going to come across. They're for both scouting and map control. And this is to, if they have a bunch of Zerglings coming out, you can kite with these Hellions, and speed will be basically about done. But Zerglings as a whole just don't do that well against Hellions. Your primary goal with these, if it's not just straight up scouting, it will be scouting in this circumstance because Dimaga has a whole bunch of roaches coming out. So you'll have time to prepare for that. But if they're just droning here on their natural expansion and they have a spine crawler up or whatever, your job with these Hellions is just to deny any extra creep spreading. And it takes a little bit of management, but the point is that so Zergs can't get established out on the map as soon as they would like. And you can do this all with just a few Hellions. Behind this, I want to show you what Braddock's reaction is. He saw all these roaches hatching. This is 7 roaches, and this is actually a really common follow-up in Zerg versus Terran, or Terran versus Zerg, whatever, right now. And he dropped a tech lab on his barracks immediately afterward. And this tech lab is to start stim. It's also to keep the option for marauders open if they go ahead and rush roaches at you. If they don't, you can just continue marines, you can start a second barracks and go into siege tank marine and swap this barracks and this factory back and forth once again so that you can get the factory on the tech lab once stim is done, and start your siege research and continue to push out on the map. So that's kind of the point of this opener. That's about as far as it extends. A couple of other things that you can do, which don't happen in this game, is you can go double Reactor Hellions. So if you go factory, reactor, and then you, on your next 100 gas, if you drop a second factory and with your barracks build another reactor, you can get 4 Hellions at a time and just bring tons and tons of Hellions up to his base if he doesn't go roaches, and kill a lot of drones. So that's another option in this build that you can do that a lot of Zerg players have a hard time dealing with, because it's really hard to scout that if you put your factory back here or something. And you make sure that you're watching out with marines to kill an overlord that might come flying into your base. But yeah, this is the basic gist of it. Once this command center is done, your whole goal, let's watch this replay just a little longer. Your whole goal is to transform this into an orbital command as soon as possible. And it's not to just lift it up and land it right away, because in this circumstance, if you do, you're just going to have it sitting there not doing anything. Whereas you could have it dropping mules, you could have it making more SCVs to rally to your main mineral line. And then behind this, it's pretty common to go up to 3 barracks. You'll usually have a tech lab on 1 and reactors on the other 2 to get a lot of marines. You can see there's the switch once again so that he can get a lot of marine production out. And then you can also make a reactor once again, or a tech lab or whatever, to get ready for your starport so you can start medevacs in addition to all this. So that's basically just the point of the Reactor Hellion expand. Just be sure that your timings are crisp and that you know everything that needs to go down at what time. So just as a review, it's going to be a supply depot on 10, which is basically you're going to do that every time. A barracks is usually going to come down on 12, gas on 13. After that, you're going to go ahead and start your factory as soon as you can get the 100 gas for it. Start a supply depot in addition to your orbital command, basically as soon as your barracks finishes. You're going to start 1 or even 2 marines depending on what you want to do. And then once your factory has started building, your next 50 gas is going to be spent on the reactor. Just swap the factory and the barracks off of one another so you can get 4 Hellions out. That's typically all you really need. And those 4 Hellions, again, aren't to kill drones. They're not going to be aggressive or anything like that. They're going to be to scout so that you can see what the Zerg player is doing. You can kill drones if you possibly can, but you don't want to waste those Hellions. They're also going to be to deny creep spreading. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. There's a lot of replays of Terran players doing that out there if you want to watch that. In particular, watch this Braddock versus Dimaga series, which I have casted all 3 games of that. It's a really cool series, and yeah, it shows a lot of cool stuff that Braddock does, and he does a double Reactor Hellion play in the first game, if I can remember correctly, but at least this video will show you what the point of that build is so you can understand how you're supposed to be running it and what pros do and why they do it. So until next time, stay tuned and have a good time playing StarCraft.